This episode of the Hunt Stealth podcast is brought to you by ReadyWise Outdoor.
As a hunter and outdoor enthusiast, you need food that's not just convenient, but also nutritious. That's why I trust ReadyWise Outdoor. Their pro meals are designed to fuel your adventure, packed with over 30 grams of protein and more than 500 calories per serving, keeping you energized when you need it the most. Favorites like the Thai coconut cashew curry or the protein-packed breakfast skillet are not only delicious, but ready in minutes. Just add water. Plus, their freeze-dried technology keeps these meals lightweight, which are perfect for extended trips. Whether you're deep in the backcountry or preparing for a weekend camping trip, ReadyWise has your back, with meals that give you the stamina you need to go the extra mile. Their meals are made locally here in the U.S. and come with a 15-year shelf life. So head on over to ReadyWiseOutdoor.com today and explore their pro meal bundles, because your outdoor pursuits deserve great-tasting, high-quality meals. And be sure to enter promo code Ryan20 to save 20% off at checkout. That's Ryan20 to save 20% off at ReadyWiseOutdoor.com.
Need a cooler that keeps your food and drinks ice cold on your next adventure? Look no further than Blue Coolers from Caddis Sports. With the industry-leading insulation and rugged durability, these coolers are perfect for camping trips, tailgates, and all of your outdoor adventures. The built-in wheels make transportation a breeze, no matter how heavy the load. Whether you're fishing, hosting a barbecue, or at deer camp, Blue Coolers has you covered with unmatched performance at an affordable price. Blue Coolers are made right here in the USA, so get yours today at caddissports.com. Be sure to use promo code Ryan10 to save 10% off at checkout. That's Ryan10 to save 10% off at caddissports.com.
You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast with Ryan Uffens, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the wild. Whether you're an aspiring hunter or an adventurer seeking the untamed, together we'll explore the strategies and stories that lead to success in the great outdoors.
Hey guys, Ryan Uffens here on the Hunt Stealth Podcast. We're here with Hunter McWaters, who is the host of The Hunter's Quest. You can check out his films on both YouTube, and he's got an awesome podcast as well. Hunter, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Glad we could get our schedules linked up finally.
Yeah, the last time we talked, you were just on your way to Alaska, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But what I want to do is just kind of start out chatting a little bit about you and just like your upbringing, and talk about kind of what got you started in hunting and when, kind of how you transitioned to it becoming like your passion.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. Hope everything goes great with the podcast. I've been hunting probably, really kind of as long as I can remember. I mean, my dad started taking me out dove hunting and duck hunting and goose hunting. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay on the East Coast. If people are familiar with waterfowl, they're probably familiar with the Currituck Sound and the Chesapeake Bay. It's like they're like legendary waterfowl kind of areas. And the first I remember, I think I was like probably around 8. My dad got me a Remington Youth model. I can't remember which one it is, but 870 pump Youth model and 20 gauge. And years before that, I've been going with him, taking my BB gun and stuff like that. And I always just like loved it. I gravitated way more towards hunting and the outdoors and fishing than I did any other sports or anything like that. And I just loved it from day one. I remember like some of my best earliest memories are like the night before he would take me out hunting. Like we would be pulling stuff out of the hunting closet, we called it, and getting all the stuff ready. And I would never sleep the night before, and I'd be up the second, that he came in my room the next morning. And then one of my first memory ever is getting that gun, was he surprised me with it. We were camping and came back and he had it in the box, and it was probably the coolest thing I ever got. Still maybe one of my best gifts ever is that first shotgun. And took me out dove hunting, and if you've ever been dove hunting, they're like not that easy to hit. I mean, it was a 20 gauge, and I was 8 years old, and I smoked a dove on my first outing with that thing. So I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, man. Then I was obsessed with it, and then about the age 14, we met a guy through our church who had some family land on this place called the Eastern Shore. which your guests may not know of it, but if you're from around here in Chesapeake Bay, you've heard of it. Basically, Virginia has a part of Virginia is this tiny peninsula across the Chesapeake Bay from the main part of Virginia. It's called the Eastern Shore. You have to take the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel to get across there, and it's just kind of like a mecca. I mean, as far as Virginia goes, Eastern Virginia, it's like a mecca for outdoor stuff. I mean, there's tons of waterfowl, but the deer, like, um, higher deer density that I've ever seen anywhere, like, still to this day. There wasn't really any coyotes or any other natural predators, um, for some reason, and so maybe because it's a peninsula or whatever. But the deer are just everywhere. So I had like pretty much free reign on this probably like 800-ish acre farm, um, and started bow hunting. It was a rifle, or sorry, it was an archery and shotgun only area. Um, so that first night, I remember sitting in the tree stand. I watched 14 deer come out of this little bean field I was on, just out of range. So like it kind of forced me just to watch them there, but they were still like 80 yards, 70, 80 yards, so like close still, just enough to get you really excited and get to observe the deer. They had no idea it was there. I mean, I watched them all evening. Super cool, and that's when like I knew like this is me. I just became completely obsessed. I mean, I remember sitting in pre-algebra class, breaking out my math book, and inside it was a copy of Deer and Deer Hunting, and inside of that was like a hand-drawn map of my farm with like the stand locations, and I was like drawing like the wind directions. Just completely obsessed, man. And then that continued all through
That's
high
awesome.
school. Yeah, and like people were out partying and whatnot. I was going over there and hunting all weekend. That was just me. That was my thing. So, and then
That's
we can get into
awesome.
this later. Yeah, giving you a lot here, but and then it transitioned. This is my fifth season where I transitioned to like Western mountain hunting, and that was kind of its own thing. But that's sort of the background of how I got going.
That's awesome. Do you tell me like what when you first got started and you were out? It sounded like you did a lot of hunting with your dad. What was like? Was there any like advice that he gave you that maybe you could share with our listeners that could help them for those that are new to this sport?
Well, no, to be honest, nothing really comes to mind. I mean, I guess the lesson there, the advice would be is just bring someone hunting, like take someone out with you, because if he hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And he did give me advice, I'm sure, like when it comes to like waterfowl and like decoy spreads and putting out and like shooting and stuff like that. But um, when I started getting into the big game, I kind of really took over it like myself. Like he did some deer hunting and grew up doing some bow hunting, but like he would, and to this day, he still is mainly a waterfowler. Um, so I was kind of on my own when it came to that as far as learning it. Like he helped me and guided me along, of course, but um,
Right.
mainly it would just be like pass the sport along to a friend or a young person or a son or daughter that has interest in it. And then, I guess he kind of taught me to fish, I guess you'd say, like, teach a man to fish kind of deal,
Right.
and then kind of let me go. So, yeah, I don't really, nothing like specific really comes to mind. Um,
Just get out there and do it. I mean, that's the
yeah,
biggest thing. It sounds like because I mean, for
for
me, and
sure.
I've talked about this on the past couple episodes. Like my son's the one that actually got me into hunting. I mean, he's 23 now, but we started 4 years ago,
Cool.
and we grew up. I mean, we're a sports family, and we played a lot of baseball, a lot of football, a lot of basketball. I mean, my girls played soccer, and so that wasn't something where like I was we didn't hunt. We weren't hunt. We went fishing,
Yeah,
but that was we fished when we weren't water skiing or wakeboarding or doing something like that.
yeah,
But yeah, just I think it's crucial just to get out there and spend time with the family. I mean, that's the biggest thing where I think the success and the love for it comes. I mean, I've always loved the outdoors, um, but yeah, like I'm sitting here in Utah and it's like a hunting mecca out here. We've got waterfowl season coming up. you've got, you're a 2.5 hour drive from some great pheasant hunting here in the state. And then, I mean, I'd argue some of the best elk hunting like in the country that you can get out and do as well. So, I mean, we're fortunate, but it's weird because like I grew up here, I did a lot of water sports. Everybody's like, "Oh, you live in Utah. Like, do you ski and snowboard?" And I'm like, "Never. I've never been on a mountain skiing or snowboarding." It's interesting, but yeah, that's one of the things that we're really trying to do is get people outdoors. And one of the things that we're really passionate about is like trying to spread this to the youth. Okay, folks, we're back. Had a little technical difficulties there, but we'll jump back into it here. Hunter, I don't remember exactly where I was at, but we were just basically talking about just, for us, one of the things that's important that we're trying to do here is like we want the youth to be more involved in just the outdoors. I mean, I've seen it with own kids, like in our church. I got a buddy of mine, Cody Fraughton. He takes these youth out. He owns property, and he'll take them out pheasant hunting, and they come back changed. I mean, they get away from the computer. You get out there, you don't have great reception. He doesn't have Wi-Fi at the cabin for them to log on to and kind of zone back out. And you see these youth come back, and it changes them. It gives them kind of a different experience. And people talk about hunting and all this toxic male stuff that's out there. But I'd argue that that's something that we definitely need, not in the toxic part, but just like men that can take care of themselves and be able to help these youth kind of grow and do that. But
I did
but
catch
the
what you
good
were saying there, and I totally agree. Like, there's so much crap out there right now, getting into our kids' heads through the phones, the TV, the everything. Yeah, just getting them outside is huge. And like you said, to your point, I mean, being, it's great for recreation. It's great for your physical, spiritual, mental well-being. But also, like, these are important skills to have that are like more and more lost. And you know, like we're dealing with internet issues right now. Like, if one day the internet decides, or we get a cyber attack or whatever,
EMP, China sets off an EMP on
yeah,
us.
I mean, like, those of us who know how to do this stuff are going to be significantly better off. And not to sound crazy, but I mean, they're good skills to have for providing and even protecting your family, whatever it may be. But yeah, so I'm with
Yeah.
you, man.
Oh yeah. I won't get started on the political stuff. Like, I'm a full on like conspiracy theorist, and all the conspiracy theorist things that I've been talking about over, and everyone, it's like you see more and more of them are coming true.
Oh, for
But
sure.
yeah, it is an incredible skill, and it's one thing. Like, what I've started in is archery, right? So that's the only thing that I've done. Well, that's not true. I've done pheasant hunting and archer, the two things, and we're getting ready to go out do some waterfowl. My boy's got a tag, and we're getting ready to head back out next weekend. He's got the extended tag. We're going to try and get him an elk.
Nice.
We found a place where is active now, and we're going to go back out and see if we can't do something there. But with that, Hunter, tell me a little bit about you had talked earlier that you had kind of started up doing like dove hunting with your dad and some whitetail stuff. Tell me a little bit about your transition into more of the big game stuff, because I mean, you've done everything from like caribou, bear,
Yeah.
I mean the whole gambit. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So so I was already kind of like obsessed with big game, but it was all whitetail really here on the East Coast and stuff. And I'd seen, as most East Coast guys do, I'd seen stuff of, elk hunting and mule deer, and always like just thought that was super cool. Like, really wanted to do it someday, but didn't really know how to get started or what to do. Um, and I started looking into it a little bit. Um, but to be honest, I got like pretty daunted by just the rules and the regulations, every state being completely different. Like,
Well, sometimes that's just how podcasts go. You'll have a guest on, and the internet connection just doesn't want to work with you. We'll give it a minute, see if he comes back on.
anyway,
All good. So you were just saying that you have always been obsessed, like, or you were obsessed with big game.
yeah. And so that came through whitetail, and then I always like had seen, the the stuff on magazines and TV of the elk hunts and big mule deer out in Colorado, and always thought it was super cool, and started to kind of like, dip my toe in the water of looking into it. But to be honest, I got kind of daunted by just the state regulations. Now everything's different, and I wasn't really used to that. So to be honest, I kind of gave up a little bit. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just kind of stick to what I'm doing here and whatever. And then right at that same time, which just happened to be when I was like, just kind of a different story, but going through this huge life transformation, a friend of mine out of the blue, actually not really even a friend, like a friend of a friend, an acquaintance, hit me up, just like sent me an Instagram DM, was like, hey, I'm gonna go on this like completely DIY walk-in caribou hunt in Alaska. I need a partner. Like, would you be down? Because as you may have discovered, like it can be actually difficult to find people to do this stuff with, because like people will always say like, yeah, I want to go hunting, and you actually, okay, we're leaving, we're going back hunting. Like you start talking about the actual logistics, and they're like, yeah, I'm good. Or they can't get off work, or their wife won't let them,
We,
or
we
whatever.
we have to go where, and we're hiking how many miles deep?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was probably like the 10th person he asked, and I said yes. And he, he's like, he was kind of selling me on the trip, like, oh, it won't be that bad, da, da, da. And he's like, he's ex-Navy Special Warfare, so like in super good shape. And then I started looking at like our plan, like, oh my gosh, like, and like kind of digging in. This is the first time I'd ever done any kind of backcountry hunt at all. And so I was like, and like I said, I grew up in a beach town, like flat as a pancake. So I started looking at it, I was like, man, this is gonna be tough. So I started training my butt off and just absorbing just podcasts and YouTube and just crazy like growth. And of course you can learn a lot from that stuff, but and I did come into that hunt like as probably as prepared as you could be, not ever having done something like that. But you still learn a lot on the fly when you're out there. But man, just the immersive experience, the physical challenge, the mental and like even spiritual challenge, um, that I'd always loved adventure and hunting, but most of my hunting had been walk quarter mile to my tree stand, sit there, be bored most of the time, scrolling on my phone half the time. This was a completely different experience. I mean, you were a part of nature, you were in it, you were just really in the mountains and a part of the mountains. So,
Sometimes Mother Nature, I feel, will try and break you. It's like, do you really want to do this?
oh yeah, no, we spent like probably 36 hours in the tent, which is driving rain, like at some point, and I got horrible blisters like on day one. Um, we didn't kill any caribou. We barely saw any the first 3 or 4 days. So it wasn't like, like we walked out and like shot caribou and I was like, oh, this is amazing. No, it was a tough hunt. But like I said, we didn't even kill anything that hunt. But just the experience, like I remember like the last couple days, I was like, yeah, this is like I want to do this like every year I can. And I started learning about points and draws, and it just when I got home, it just jumped full into it. And that's kind of what started the podcast, and then that morphed into the TV show, and so which is a whole separate
That
story. But it was that trip to Alaska that really just changed my life. Really,
So was this the trip in 2019?
yeah, right during the height of COVID, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you went to Alaska. You, as you had said in your film, you ate the tag, um, and came back home. I mean, that's all I've done for the past 4 years is eating tags,
yeah,
because, like I said, we're just doing archery. We're out trying to get ourselves an elk.
that's cool.
It's been weird. Like the past couple draws, like my son and I, because I mean, it's he and I. I've got like a built-in companion now, which is amazing, which is why we've started, this podcast, and then we've got like our clothing that we're doing. We've got some hats and t-shirts and stuff that it's just like we absolutely love it. But you get out there, and I mean, we had one elk. I had an elk 30 yards, but I didn't have a clear shot on vitals, and I just like, I'm not going to try and ricochet something
Yeah,
and wound the animal. But tell me a little bit about, because like, oh, so it planted, and so when did you actually start your films?
yeah. So background of that, I worked for a TV show for like 7 years. I was a camera operator for 2 years, and I was a producer for 5 years, like a national TV show, not in the hunting space at all. Um, and then during COVID, I was helping my church to produce their online services. So, I've been doing production for almost a decade. And when I after I got back from that hunt, I decided to start the podcast because I figured I could have, or I thought I could have a little bit of a unique voice in the space, kind of by bringing in some like spiritual and faith uh, themes without like making it like a Christian podcast, quote unquote, or like making it like that's the sole
Planting
focus.
seeds. Planting
Yeah,
seeds.
just like having conversations with guys about hunting and then bringing up the spiritual side of things too, because I felt like there are a lot of guys who had a faith, but it wasn't really talked about much. So, so I started doing that, and then, and also I just wanted to like have conversations with like amazing hunters and learn from them that having a podcast allowed me to do. Whereas if I just were to like call the guy or message him and hey, can I talk to you on the phone for 30 minutes? They probably would say no, but or
Yeah,
ignore
like I
me.
said, I can relate to all of this.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a great way to connect and learn and build connections. So the podcast kind of snowballed. And then my wife gave me for Christmas the next year, she got me a trip to Kodiak with my same buddy. He lined up all the logistics and stuff, but she bought, paid for my airfare and stuff and surprised me with this Sitka blacktail hunt on Kodiak.
That's a good wife, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's regretted that decision ever since. No, but so then yeah, I've got this hunt coming up and I'm like, man, I'm going to this hunt. It's an epic location, like cool hunt, pretty good opportunity hunt. I have the skills to film this thing, like why not? Like let's just do it. So I kind of went and when I do something, I don't like to go halfway. I usually go like all the way in or just don't do it at all. So I got my gear together. I got some used gear, rented some stuff. Didn't really know exactly what I was doing, but came out of there with a pretty cool film. And you can still watch that. It's on my YouTube channel. It's the Kodiak hunt. And we filled 3 tags. My buddy killed a 107-inch Boone and Crockett Sitka blacktail on the last day. We doubled up. And cool film. And then I sent that to some friends in the industry, like my friend Brian Call. He saw it and he liked it, and then he kind of enlisted me to do some stuff with Gritty, and I did that for a little bit, and kind of went my own way. Love those guys, but just kind of want to do my own thing and kind of build my brand, and that kind of thing. And so yeah, so that, and then it kind of snowballed from there into this opportunity to do the Sportsman Channel show, which if anyone's listening, which airs at 7:30 Eastern on Tuesday nights, 5:30 Mountain, if you want to check it out. And I had the background and the knowledge on how to produce a television show, which is very different from just dropping stuff on YouTube. They're both a lot of work, but the broadcast side of things is different steps and kind of there's just some stuff you kind of have to know how to do that a lot of people I feel like don't. It's a little bit extra work, but I had the background in TV, so I was able to kind of pull it off by myself.
So out of curiosity, what are some of those things that are different from just dropping like a film on YouTube versus?
There's certain.
I mean, not that it has to turn into like a TV production
right
podcast, but
no.
just, I'm curious.
Yeah, there's just there's certain delivery standards as far as the format, the codecs you use, how it's edited, like how the audio channels are arranged and the video channels are arranged. There's broadcast standards for audio. There's broadcast standards for color and exposure. There's you have to get closed captioning done by law. You have to do music cue sheets for everything. You have to do run orders. There's just
so it's more complicated.
It's much more complicated. I mean, anybody can throw something like, if you want to do YouTube well, it's similar amount of work, But like at the end of the day, anybody can grab their phone, record something, throw it on YouTube. That's nothing. Like, but
You're typically not going to have the FCC coming knocking on your door.
right, there's just a lot of extra steps and work and stuff, and financial investment for TV. So, but so anyway, I had the opportunity to do that, and then just kind of one thing led to another. So now I'm really trying to do TV and digital well, which is very hard. There's only one of me, and I'm still figuring out that balance and trying to do it right. But I don't know. Getting to be
Well,
kind of
from
spread
what
thin.
if it's any consolation, from what I'm seeing, you appear to be doing it very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, the films and that are fun. I honestly haven't had a chance to watch any of the TV stuff yet, but that's next on the list. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
I still got a full-time gig,
Okay.
and kind of doing this thing, this little passion on the side. So that's awesome. I love hearing those stories, like how people got into it and that. And I know Brian and those guys, like he's a good dude,
Hmm.
and his films, like, I mean, are super like in depth, and
Yeah,
he does a really good job as well.
for
But
sure.
well, that's awesome. So okay, so we talked. You went in 2019. You go back, you fill those tags. What was like the weather like when you were there? I mean, was there anything that like caught you off guard while you were out there, that you were going like, man, I wished I'd have planned differently for that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, coming from being a flatlander, I knew nothing about boots, which are very important. So I got out there with this like stiff pair of boots that was like, I found out later, like a size and a half too big, and got like my feet were like wrecked. I hunted like the second and third day like in Crocs, just trying to like preserve my feet. But so that was a big one. Definitely Alaska. It's hard to describe Alaska to people because it's just from my experience, it's just everything in the lower 48, but like dialed up like 7 notches. Like it'll literally be like 70, not like this last trip I was on. One day it rained all night. It started snowing. It was snowing most of the day. The next day it was 60 and sunny. Um, it just like the extremes can come. You pretty much have to plan on like spending
Everything.
an entire 24 hours in your tent being rained on in Alaska. It's just like a thing. And a lot of guys,
So
something I
so
learned
let
them.
so let me ask you that real quick. Like, if you're stuck in the tent, like, what are some of the things that you would do or people should bring to keep themselves occupied during that
I
time?
always bring a little Bible like this big. Um, like that thing's been everywhere with me. Except for I just gave it to a friend on my last time. I hope he sends it back, but I hope more so. I hope he reads it. But the Lord just we get into a really good conversation about spiritual stuff. And he's a Native American guy who's never even like really heard the gospel at all. We had a great conversation, and my Bible was there, which I've taken on every single trip with me and written like everywhere it's been in the back. But I gave it to him, so I hope he reads it. Um, anyway, that was a side rabbit hole. But and then if you want to, like my buddy, he brought a book. To be honest, now like I'm not quite as much of a purist. If you're doing like one trip a year, I don't recommend doing this. But if you're going on multiple trips a year and you might be spending a lot of time in your tent, I've gotten past it. I will sometimes bring my phone and download some stuff on there. I mean, you're talking 36 hours in the tent. Watching a movie on your phone in there can be a little bit of a nice way to break things up. Um, because it can get lonely. That's when your mind starts to be like, "What are you doing here? Go home. Your kids miss you. Why are you in a tent right now in the rain?"
Just
Um,
pretend you're on an episode of Alone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you could start filming yourself, sending in-reach messages. I don't know. It definitely gets weird, and that is one point that I will say that's good for new people. Is something I learned on that trip, which my buddy taught me. He called it backcountry longevity, which is you get out there, it's raining. So if you're in Alaska, you feel like, well, I just got to tough it out. I got to get out in the rain and just sit out there in the rain. Yet sometimes that is an option, which you should always bring a tarp for glassing. Another key tip. But in Alaska, if you get wet, you're not going to get dry ever. And if that can be dangerous. So there are times when you just have to stay in your tent, even though it sounds like, oh, this guy's a wimp. Like, why don't you just go out in the rain? Sometimes like you have to like have self-preservation in mind. That'll keep you in the field longer. So that's just kind of one little tip to just keep in mind. But yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's I've had a couple experiences in the rain, and when you get wet, it's tough to get dry.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it can be
hey,
impossible sometimes.
yeah. So tell me what it sounds like the Alaska trip was like your most like your favorite trip. Was there like a favorite animal that you've taken that is maybe memorable from, I don't know. I mean, I hate to say like trophy size, but
Yeah.
is there anything like that?
Well, man, I had just like an incredible season last season. Like, I don't know if I'll ever top it, to be honest with you, but um, one right here is my first bull ever right here. You can watch this hunt on YouTube right now. It's New Mexico. I drew this high demand tag. It's a 1% draw. Like if you want to
Wow.
buy the landowner tag, it's like $17,000 or something. And I just drew it for my first elk hunt ever, the open sight muzzleloader hunt. Which the film is really cool. Like I hit him really good frontal at like 80 yards, but then I'm walking up on him and he gets up and I have to shoot him on the run with a muzzleloader, and like I hit him because I grew up bird hunting. My instinctual shooting is on point. Um, and then this, you can't see it here. My caribou. So I went back. That's another one you can watch right now.
Okay.
So that one was several years in the making, which was really a very memorable one. And then this is all last season, but I got to mention this one too. The film just released on the Loophole Optics YouTube channel. It's called Blacktail Country, and I'm about to release the sequel to it, which is where I film my buddy kill a blacktail the next couple days after. But I wanted to get a Columbia blacktail as the last deer subspecies I needed for a North American deer slam, and I didn't have, I was just gonna kill like a decent one or whatever. Somehow we found a 141-inch net Boone and Crockett blacktail, and I shot that last year. The biggest deer I've ever killed, and it's a Columbia blacktail. And so that one's super memorable too. So it's so like I had such a great season last year that like I can't really pick one, but those three are like just next level, I guess, for me. Just because first caribou, first elk, and first blacktail, and biggest deer ever. So it's
That
gonna be
was a
hard to
good
top that.
year.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to
Yeah.
top, man.
So what was have you ever had like shot an animal and like not been able to find it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's like the one that everyone like hates to talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like it happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like what, tell me, like, tell me if you would, like what's something that happened that you wish you'd have done differently that maybe somebody else could learn and, prevent that from happening to them.
Yeah, it's definitely happened. It happened when I was a kid with my bow and a whitetail, but I just took a shot that was too long. Um, Lately, to be completely transparent, um, I have been having some like misses or not great first shots. Like this aoudad right behind me, I shot him a little bit far back. This episode's about to come out. It's pretty cool too. But anyway, I shot him too far back. He was wounded. Then I had a weapons malfunction. Anyway, long story short, same thing. I walked up on him. I had to shoot him running full speed at like 20 yards with 300 Win Mag. Just, but like, thank God I can instinctually shoot. But the biggest thing I'm really trying to work on right now is, and I think this is something that a lot of people deal with, is, you get in that like kill mode, right? Or I do. And especially when you got, not only am I thinking, I want to take advantage of this opportunity, I want to kill this animal, I want to put the tag on this animal. I'm thinking of the months I've spent preparing for this, the cameraman who I'm paying to be there, um, you know, all my sponsors, like, I'm not trying to whine or like sound like a turd, but like there's a little bit extra pressure I feel like on me to kind of perform. And on top of just kind of like I said, getting that kill mode, I'm really, really trying to work on just slowing down in that moment, not forcing it at the first available opportunity. Like, take a deep breath, you know, assess the situation, be patient if you need to be. So that's what I'm really working on now, is just really trying to like chill the heck out, like take a breath, make a good shot.
Yeah.
So
It's almost like, I mean, we go out and my son and I, we try and film some stuff. There's nothing worth putting out there right now. We haven't shot anything, but I do like, there is that added pressure, and I don't think you're like being a boob or anything, like complaining about that. But I mean, like, this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what you do for a living now.
yeah, hmm
So it's like, you want to perform,
yeah,
right? You go in, and it's no different than, a sales guy going out trying to get his deal closed. I
yeah,
mean, that's what I do. I work in sales, and I start talking too fast, and I'm like,
yeah,
bro, just calm down.
yeah,
you,
for sure.
you know what you're doing. You've planned for this, like, you're prepared. and
And it's a
and
weird balance too, because like part of my whole thing, like this is only my fifth season mountain hunting. I've been hunting for a long time, but like mountain hunting with different game, different species and stuff. This is only my fifth season doing it. And part of my kind of spiel from the whole thing from the beginning was I'm not like an expert Western hunter. I'm figuring this out as I go. Kind of, learn with me, figure it out with me. But it's like I'm kind of at this weird like tipping point now where it's like I'm still new, and like most of the guys who watch my stuff, I would say, or like even like the camera guys a lot of times I'm working with, have been doing this way longer than I have. And I want to be authentic and be transparent about the fact that like I'm still not an expert elk hunter or mule deer hunter. I may never be as knowledgeable about those things as some of the people that watch my stuff. But, I also don't want to, I want to take this seriously and do my best. And I don't want to be like an idiot or a clown. And I owe it to the animals to perform. And so it's this weird balance of like, I want to, be good at what I do and be a good representative for the hunting community, and be able to pass on some knowledge to some people, because I have learned a lot in this last few years. But at the same time, I'm not an expert, so hope people can kind of give me a little grace there.
well, I the what I've discovered is, the more I learn about hunting big game and hunting out west, the more I'm realizing, like, I still don't know anything. Like, whatever I think I've
Yeah,
learned, it's like there's always somebody that knows something a little bit more. And that's the thing that I think is so cool about the hunting community, is so many people are willing to share their knowledge.
yeah,
And with us being out here, like in the west, and there's a lot of mountain hunting that happens, for mule deer and elk out this way. Tell me a little bit. You talked about you conditioning for going to that. Like, what would you recommend? Like, as a good like routine? Like, what are some things that people should focus on to have them physically prepared to go out and
yeah,
hunt in the mountains?
yeah. You gotta get creative, especially if you don't live in the mountains. Like, if you do live in the mountains, get a ruck, heavy ruck, and just go walk up and down mountains a lot. I feel like a
What
lot of
what what would you say is a heavy ruck?
I train with 85 pounds, which is heavy.
Okay, that's a heavy ruck.
Yeah. But you know, you don't need to train with that much. But I'm kind of feeling like I'm making up for, like I know guys that I've worked with out there who don't really look like they're in great shape, who I could literally smoke in a CrossFit workout, but they can just hike all day, just just like all day. A lot of it is mental. A lot of it's mental, and a lot of it's just like growing up since they were 6 years old, walking around mountains with a pack on, and
They're just mentally conditioned for the grind.
mentally and just like the small muscles you can't really train in a gym doing squats are developed in ways that you can really only develop by rucking in the mountains. But you know, training is a big part of what I do, and even Western hunting as a whole. Like I was mentioning earlier about coming out of this whole life transformation. I used to be like very overweight. I was literally obese by like the numbers. Um, and that first trip to Alaska was like one of the catalysts to me like getting in really good shape and changed my whole life. But what I do is I basically do CrossFit like all year, a little bit less during hunting season, but basically all year I'm doing CrossFit 5 days a week. I just go in. It works for me because I don't have to worry about programming. You know, I get to know people in there. It's competitive, and for me, it's done really good with building my strength and my cardiovascular like endurance and stuff. I'll mix that in on the weekends with longer runs. So, you know, CrossFit, you're building strength and you're getting those like really intense 5 to 15 or even some longer end 20-minute workouts, like sprint style mixed in with weight training. But you also want to like mix in longer endurance type activities, like a 5, 6 mile run. And I always run. I don't remember the last time I ran without a weight vest. Like every time I put on a weight vest. It's really a plate carrier, it's body armor. But I started doing that like 3 or 4 years ago. Like I'm gonna run, I can just put extra weight on. Just why not? So I do that. When I start getting closer into hunting season, I'll start getting more event specific. So I'll start rucking. And you know, when I lived in Virginia Beach, I'd have to get really creative. I have to go to maybe a high school gym or football field and do the bleachers with the ruck on. Or we had people may have heard me talk about this before, but there's actually a city park in Virginia Beach called Mount Trashmore. It's an old reclaimed landfill that they like
Wow.
grassed over and made it such like this big hill. And so, I mean, it's not big, but by like normal mountain standards, but it's the
Right.
only like topography around. So I would just go and just do laps over it. Now I live about an hour or so from some decently substantial mountains by East Coast standards anyway. So I'll wake up at like 5 a.m., take the ruck and just do that like and just try to find the steepest, nastiest stuff I can find and just do it. Yeah, that's kind of what I do. And then you know, as I'm like right now I'm in the middle of the season, I'll still train when I get back home. I'll do CrossFit, but I'll just like not I'm not going for PRs really. Like I'm trying to mainly like maintain the
Not get
fitness without
injured.
hurting myself. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
that can be hard for me, man. Like CrossFit, like I'll go in there and I'll see my buddy and I'm like, oh, you know, I gotta keep up with him and then I'll like blow something out. Um, so yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
the basics of it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's like I was talking about, I was moving something the other day and pulled something in my back, and like I haven't gone out. I want to go shoot my bow today, get my reps in, and I'm like stressing about it because we were moving. My son and I were moving. It was a bed frame, but I don't know why I'm drawing a complete blank right now. But it's one of the adjustable beds, so it's like heavy, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'm like pinching, trying to like lift, and we're kind of like at a weird angle. And at the time, I felt this little thing. But the past 2 nights, I've probably combined slept like 5 hours.
Jeez.
And like now I've got like numbness. It's like weird. It's like under my armpit. It's like started to radiate. It's actually, since we've started talking, it's feeling a little bit better, but it started to radiate into like my chest and like down into the elbow. And like I'm going, perfect. Like this is
Yeah.
perfect. Like
Yeah, I mean, recovery is
not
huge,
the one.
man. You might want to go see a chiropractor or something. I do that. I do chiropractor. I do like a hot tub. Recovery is big,
Yeah.
especially when you start getting old like us.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like this stuff's all new. Well, and it doesn't help. Like the one thing, okay, so there's a couple things that I would just add my 2 cents into. My buddy Casey Harbitson, who was one of the co-founders over at Mountain Ops, he said, "Hey, look, if you can't get up in the mountains, if it's winter, right? He's like, throw a ruck on and just go hit like the stair climbers, right?
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
just do the stair climbers." And then he's like, when you want to start pushing and training, he's like, throw like 40, 60 pound salt in your pack
Yep.
and just go up in the mountains. He's like, and then when you start coming down to like avoid knee pain, if it starts feeling too much, he's like, just dump it out. Just dump some of the salt out. Just slowly start lowering it down. He's like, plus the deers and all the animals up there will love that. So
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I thought that was good advice. But yeah, I think training is crucial, and this is the first time I felt like I've had to deal with like any type of injury. And I mean, I guess the nice thing is we're going out. It's my boys' tag, so I'm not going to be shooting anything. But still, like we have this routine where we want to go and get our reps in, and I'm going, I don't even know if I could draw my bow back right now, but
Yeah.
we're going to go find out here.
Here's another thing I used to do if you're a flatlander. I would go out to like somewhere like with a dirt road, like a super long dirt road, and I would get my pack and I would tie a truck tire to the pack and fill it with rocks and pull that thing around. That was pretty good too.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that would be a good one. Yeah, it's whenever you're like pulling something. I thought you were going to say put the like my least favorite thing to. I'd rather do squats than lunges. Like I don't know why lunges with weight on to me is just
They're tough.
it's a grind. But yeah, I guess that's one of those things that it's like because I don't want to do it, I should probably start doing it more. But anyway, well, that's cool. Hey, I know you've got hard out here. You've got to get some things done, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. Is there anything like any like parting wisdom that you would just like to leave with our folks that maybe like as they're getting started in this new adventure, or if they've been doing it for a while, that you'd like to share with everybody?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me would be, if you're completely new, like you have no experience whatsoever, and you just don't feel comfortable doing anything, like try to find a friend who can take you out, something low key. And also, I know like on social and stuff, everyone's like, oh, DIY, public land, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's great. But if you don't have anyone to take you out, maybe book a guided hunt for your first hunt and watch what the guides do. Like, ask tons of questions, absorb. If you have no other way to get into it other than booking a guided hunt, go for it, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And then, start small. If you really want to get into it and you have no idea what you're doing, maybe don't book an archery elk hunt or something like first thing. Like, sounds like you did.
Yeah, like this dummy.
Yeah, like maybe get a 22, learn how to shoot it, and go like try to shoot some rabbits and squirrels on public land or something. Like just something to get you out there, get comfortable with a firearm, get comfortable with walking around public land, finding the borders, like looking for stuff, or a bird hunt or something like that. Like honestly, if I lived out west and I didn't hunt at all and I wanted to get into it, that's probably what I would do. I'd find some public land, get a shotgun or a 22, go out there. Maybe not during the height of deer season or something, but go out there and look for some small game, and that'll just kind of help you hone your skills. And then, watch stuff like this podcast, listen to stuff like this podcast. My podcast also has tons of great resources for new guys. There's tons of great stuff on YouTube. So I don't know. I would just say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So just start.
Hunter, hey, appreciate the words of wisdom. Again, you guys, if you want to follow him, please do so. It's the Hunter's Quest on Instagram, YouTube, the podcast. Hunter, you've been gracious with your time. Super grateful that we've been able to spend a little bit together chatting, and we'll have to do it again here in the future.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me on, and best of luck with the rest of your season and the podcast.
Okay, same to you, brother. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Talk soon.
Hey guys, want to thank you for sticking around and watching the podcast. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Leave us a review, and we'd love for you to share it with your friends. Also want to tell you about Hunt Stealth. We are giving away a pheasant hunt guided experience. It's at the Pleasant Valley Hunting Preserve. Some of the world's best wired hair German pointers are going to be out there helping guide you on your pheasant hunt. You're also going to get a 1-year membership to the club, as well as Cata Sports is providing a 1-person hammock. We've got 2 tripod stools, a Northward Series backpacking tent for 1 person, a Horizon folding cot, and a 60-quart ice vault that's got on wheels. So it's super, super cool package. Also, ReadyWise, our good friends over there, are giving us 3 3-day adventure bag meal kits for you to take out, for you to use on your next adventure. So head on over to huntstealth.com, and for every dollar spent, you get 1 entry into that contest. Again, thanks for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time.